Welcome to Road to 100 Million, where we are on a mission to impact over 100 million lives to achieve their dreams. Welcome to this episode of Road to 100 Million, where we are on a mission to impact over 100 million lives to achieve their dreams. Today is another beautiful episode of Raw Talks with my co-host, Jacob Valdellon, and we are going into a little bit of Sunday accountability, keeping each other in check and on track to our goals and our dreams. So with that said, let's get started and jump right in. And Jacob, what is one thing you would change over the last 7 days?
For me, I came out of a weekend where I went to an event and I've been to a top producers meeting, and I'm watching myself go from using motivation and falling out of inspiration. By doing that, I'm not actually having a sense of urgency anymore. I started getting relaxed, and I stopped living in my pursuit, right? I think last week, if you guys haven't tuned in, Andrew was actually interviewing Dave Meltzer, and he talked about something with urgency with entrepreneurs. And Dave replied in a manner where he says, "You must be what you can be, stepping into your own potential." And that's where I felt like, why am I slowing down after such all these motivational events, after these, being around these people? Why am I slowing down? Because I was getting comfortable and I really wasn't connecting myself to a mission where I was doing things beyond just making money, right? Like there wasn't anything connecting to that source. So for me, what I would change is going back into that inspiration, and that starts with getting back to my daily non-negotiables, and that starts with getting back into a flow where I'm up at 4 a.m. and I'm executing on my calendar.
100%. And right there too, understanding that you were, because you were in the top producers meetings and everything, and I just want to point out too why you were getting so comfortable. Like you mentioned to me that your ego was kind of getting up, right? And you're being around people that are telling you, "Oh, you're so good, you're so good." And they're big people, right? It's great people to have telling you you're good and you're doing great.
Right.
But then you get on a call with me and I'm like, dude, you're getting comfortable. Get up, get up. Can you explain kind of like what that perspective is of like you were getting comfortable because your ego was kind of ahead of you a little bit? Like kind of jump into a little bit of that.
So I got a lot of yes man syndrome going on, being around a lot of the people that I'm in business with. Going from my old financial services business to real estate, I was always applauded and I was always at the cream of the crop, creme de la creme, right? And when no one's actually checking you, you can totally have your ego inflated, thinking you're invincible, and you're doing more than you think you can be doing. When in essence, I was actually moving at 10% of where I was because I was getting comfortable. So you actually help, raise my awareness. Like, dude, what are you doing? You're not even doing, like, you're not accountable to your 4 a.m.s. You're not even studying your calendar. You're not even, you're not living in your flow. So when you check me, I'm like, shit, let me focus and let me see what I can really do when I put my head down and realize I'm not living in my potential.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. Yeah. Most definitely. And I think the part to touch is your potential, right? Living to your potential.
Absolutely.
Not just living to a bar or a standard that people around you set, right? For their standards, you might be killing it. You might be crushing it. Top performers, like you're doing great, right?
Yeah.
You're doing great in real estate.
Yeah.
But what I see is your potential. I'm like, you're not even scratching the surface of your actual potential.
Right.
Not going for a destination, but going for how far you can go. Like,
Right.
so I think that was just a really good thing to touch on there. Is like always strive for your potential, not for your standards, right? Not for your
Huge.
right, not for just some destination, right?
Absolutely.
That, at least, I want to at least make this much, right? No,
Yeah.
I want to make over, I'm not limiting. I want to see how far over I can get over that, but it's just a
Absolutely.
milestone.
Absolutely.
So I think that's great to touch on.
Beautiful.
But yeah.
How about you? What would you do last 7 days? What would you change?
Speaking of speaking of trying to hit your potentials, my my sleep schedule, my wake up schedule consistency. Um, I'm back in a flow where I'm executing, at my potential right now. Like I can say that confidently. In every area of my life right now, it's kind of going through a level up again. I'm like, all right, it's going again. I'm back in this. I'm back in this higher flow of like. It felt like almost like a plateau, and it was like, okay, I understand. Now I got to just, set the bar, make sure I'm building more consistency. And now that that consistency, I'm hitting some exponential growth here,
Oh yeah.
going on 30, 40
Oh
days
yeah.
consistency. Now I'm building that consistency, building that habit back up. Um, but my sleep schedule still has some work to be done. Um, it has to. It's getting very consistent. When I say my sleep schedule isn't consistent, it's between like an hour difference, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, I went to bed at 10 p.m. instead of 9 p.m.,
Hmm.
or I woke up at 6 a.m. instead of 4 a.m.,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or 5:35, whatever it is. But it's always like that fine tuning, that 1% right there is what makes you a 1% or the difference.
Huge.
So I'm trying to separate myself, that last 1% and that last fine tuning, getting into that flow of like, not my standards, right? Not the like, oh, at least I got up and I got some stuff done. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know there's improvement there. So
Yeah.
I'm reaching that potential, and I can tell I'm in my potential or my in the flow because I want to reach that potential. Now it's like I want to make sure that I'm on those 4 a.m.s or sleep schedule, even if it's just an hour off. But
Right.
that 1% difference changes your trajectory way down the road really far, right? You
Huge.
move 1 degree to the left right now, 20 years from now, it's gonna be fucking almost a U-turn, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like, so that 1 degree trajectory change can change a lot down the road. Those small, minuscule, like the details,
Yeah.
subtleties of success.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to like. I think that's what I would change in the last 7 days. It's just being really clean, really, really close on those subtleties of success.
Question, because you weren't always in a flow, right? So for those
Mhm.
that fall out of it, what was that catalyst that made you get back on it? Where I see you moving not only in your fitness, your finance, your personal relationships with your dad, everything is starting to hit like a new level. What was that catalyst for you that actually got you into that momentum? Because I want to learn that because I need to get back into mine.
Dude, one word: consistency. It was the thing that got me into it first,
Got it.
right? Because for instance, the first time I hit, like when we met in August, that was probably the highest flow, like the best flow I've been in, right? That was like
Huge.
top notch.
Yeah.
Like I was 4 a.m. non-negotiables, like on the dot. I didn't even wake up 1 minute later than four, right? I usually, without my alarm, would wake up 5 minutes before my alarm every single time. And I would just click it and be like, all right, I beat it today, like, and it would just be up. And so I was a really good flow, and then fell out around the end of the year into like not a funk, but I could tell I was not on my 100%, right?
Right.
And so it was the same thing. I built the consistency back up. Right now, I told you I haven't missed a single day of working out, 7 days a week. My non-negotiable is my reading. Now I'm reading 3 books a day. It's like,
Jeez.
and not 3 full books a day, but 3 different books a day.
Yeah.
Portions of a book.
Right.
But just to make it clear for everyone, but
3 books a day.
no,
This
I
guy
mean,
speed reads.
yeah, I know, right? This guy's bullshitting now. But no, like the consistency aspect of like I've worked out for the past like almost month now, and same thing. My intentions going into February were not to zero out on any of my non-negotiables,
Right.
and I've been doing that. I've just been making sure that I've been hitting all my non-negotiables. But in order to stack them back up to now, I'm back to my 10 non-negotiables and I'm super consistent on them.
Right.
I had to drop the bar. I had to lower the bar. I
Mm.
said, you know what? I'm not getting my 4 a.m.s done. I'm not doing the things that I'm trying to set forward for myself. And every day it's kind of like a restart. And I'm like, okay, I'll set the bar really low. I'm like, let's restart.
Mm-hmm.
3 things. I have 3 goals every day: meditate, read, work out. Those 3 things. I cannot touch my business. I cannot touch my phone. I cannot do anything until I get those 3 things done.
Huge.
Right. That's where I started.
Huge.
And the workout, I even lowered the workout, right? I said, okay, I'm going back to my little 15-minute hit workouts, and then I lowered it back down, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, just make it super easy, right? Super easy, so that way I can lower the bar and build up that consistency. I said, all right, that's all I need to do. Just build up the consistency. And so I set the bar really low in order to be able to build that consistency again.
Right.
And then now I'm able to stack all the other stuff back into it. And so now it's not,
Wow.
as soon as I built up that consistency, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Now I can stack up everything. Now it hasn't been overwhelming. It hasn't been anything, because before it was like that internal thermostat, right? When I made the jump into the business, I was probably on fire, burnt myself out a little bit, most likely,
Yes,
right?
I
And so
remember. Yeah.
it was like burnt myself out because I was going absolutely ham,
Right.
like psycho mode of like entrepreneurship is like
Yeah.
just going right. And so it took some time
Cool you down a little
maybe
bit.
yeah, it maybe it put me in my anxiety zone a little bit, right?
Right.
And so I had to come back down. I had to cool off, but now I'm learning how to warm back up, and that warming up process is built through consistency.
Fire.
And the way you build up consistency is through lowering the bar. Make something that you know for a fact you can get done every single day,
Right.
and that's where you will find that.
I need to lower my bar because I feel like I go 3 days strong and then one day I zero out. 3 days strong because I have so many things I'm trying to accomplish. But let me just I'm
Mhm.
gonna that's a takeaway for me, which is a fire lesson. Um, next here is biggest lesson we learned last 7 days. I'll just go ahead and take the
What's your biggest
floor.
lesson?
Yeah, what was mine was connecting to a mission, dude. Like connecting to a mission and realizing what my life is meant to be. What do I want to be known for? And I wasn't clear on that prior to this week. And you helped me figure it out just by asking psychoanalysis questions like, what do you want to do? Do you want to educate? For me, it's inspiring the youth, teaching them how to live a happier, healthier, wealthier life, teaching my own lessons that you can change your life in a short period of time. One thing that I feel like I'm good at is this manifesting thing. I manifest fast. However, I live in the future. So that's one thing that you always do for me constantly, weekly, is bring me back down to reality, which is good because I like to just be like, boom, 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 6 months down, 5 months down, boom, boom. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me just freaking be present in the moment real quick. But because I'm
Yeah,
so in the clouds, I actually feel like it manifests a lot faster, changing my life that quickly. So I want people to see like if you could stretch your vision, but have someone to keep you accountable towards what you need to do on a daily basis, you could really change your life fast. So that was a big lesson I learned this week.
gotcha. And just to touch on too, the lesson of your mission,
Hmm.
that kind of ties into the same thing of your urgency, right? Like the
Huge.
urgency you weren't having of the ego getting a little ahead of you
Hmm.
because you didn't have that chief definite aim of like, this is where I want to go. It was kind of like riding along of like, oh crap, things are working out. Like everything's going great, right? So instead of having that far approach of like, for instance, road to 100 million,
Right.
you know, that's why I'm very grounded when I think about it. I don't think about, oh man, we got 1,000 downloads. Oh man, you know the video reached out to or say we get 20,000 views on video. Like, oh man, like that's like I'm not even worried. I'm not thinking about that because I'm like I'm so far. Like I know for it's the zoom out, zoom in effect. So
Hmm.
Steve Jobs talks about this.
Right.
Zoom out. What is my overall overarching like goal? Is that road to 100 million?
Right.
And then I zoom in. What am I doing today that's moving me closer to that, right?
Right.
And that's the same mindset or the same mindset I or the perspective I take every single day. And
Right.
so I think that's why I'm able to also be grounded. But it's like you said, it's not a bad thing that you live in the clouds because you're able to manifest quick. You have a lot of emotion that you like give
Yes.
off, so you're really good at that. But yeah, I mean that's I think is just really good to touch on because they're kind of those two are kind of
I
connected,
love
right?
that. I love that. I love that you said that. How about you? What was something that you learned this week? Big lesson.
Mm. Ooh, I've known this lesson, but I don't think I learned it myself
Okay.
until recently. It was kind of like those weeks, right? Building this consistency up again and doing all that.
Right.
Um, I started building the same thing, the consistency for all the business side of things, all the personal brand side of things, the podcast side of things. Like everything was kind of coming up together.
Hmm.
But as far as like the business and building stuff up, I had, some of the highest production in January. That's why I won some like gifts and whatnot. But I had some of the highest production in January,
Yeah.
yet I also didn't like it, everything wasn't all the way going all the way through, right? It wasn't
Mm.
all flourishing into concrete results.
Mm.
And so the more and more and more and more, I'm like, damn, I had like 15, 20 meetings this week. Like I'm pushing the momentum, like the needle's moving, but it seems like no results are coming or the results that I expect are kind of coming too.
Right.
And I'm like, man, but like what I really realized is the same thing that Dave used to tell me is like when you're feeling stuck, it means that you're almost there,
Wow.
right? When you're feeling stuck, it means, you're about to hit that breakthrough, right? I've used this example with you teaching you before. You know, let's say you're at the ground floor of a skyscraper,
I
you
love
know,
this. Yeah.
floor zero to floor one,
Mhm.
right? Once you get to the top of floor one, you're going to hit that ceiling.
Yeah.
That ceiling's going to be right there.
Yep.
That concrete ceiling is going to take some time to break through, right? You're going to just keep hitting it. And then as soon as you crack through, you're going to go all the way and you're going to have the potential of the next level and so on.
Yep.
But when you're reaching that next level, it's going to be hard. You're going to feel like you're not moving anywhere because you're feeling stuck. But for instance, if you're in a room, how would you know you were stuck if you didn't try to open the door?
Right.
You would never know.
Right.
So if you're feeling stuck, it's a good thing. It means that you're trying one. And then if you're consistent with it, consistently feeling stuck, it means that you're almost there,
Mhm.
right? Even today, today was just like the same thing. It was the same routine. Like I'm getting it back on, right? I'm in my flow.
Mhm.
And today alone, I'm already getting more results than I have just because everything's kind of just finally going through and finally going through and finally going through. And the
Yep.
rest of this week, the next 2 weeks, I guarantee by the last of this month, that exponential growth factor is going to start hitting because I'm absolutely consistent on the time, the effort, the perspective, everything that I put into my business, into my podcast, into everything that I'm doing in life. Like you said, in all areas of my life, not
Yeah.
only with the business, the podcast, but my own health, right? My
Yes.
physical health. And it all goes into physical, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, right? Getting everything through, but it all takes consistency. And feeling stuck is the reason, or the feeling stuck is just a perspective of like you don't realize that you wouldn't know you were stuck unless you try to open that door, right? So
Right.
if you're feeling stuck, it means you're trying,
Yeah.
right? Same thing with failing. If you're failing, it means you're trying.
Yeah.
These are all good things. It's just the perspective we take upon them, and that's why a lot of people quit. Whatever they're doing because they don't see the results. Whatever they feel stuck, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
So I want to just kind of lay down that part of like, if you're feeling stuck, it means that you're almost there or that you're at least trying.
Right.
So keep doing it.
I have a question on that. That's actually so many nuggets to pull from what you just said. Right. So I actually have two questions to follow up with that.
Okay.
The first one is the difference between failing and failure, right? Because a lot of people get stuck, and failing is you keep hitting that wall, but failure is when you stop and you don't start hitting that wall. So expand on that. What's the difference between failing and then failure? And
A perspective.
okay.
If failure means I tried, it didn't work, I guess it won't happen.
Hmm.
Failing is I tried, it didn't work. How are we going to try again?
Yeah.
You know, Same thing with who was it? Thomas Edison. The thousand ways that he figured out how a light bulb doesn't work. Like the thousand times like he
It's just a
failed.
perspective.
Well, he just knows a thousand ways that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a perspective of like I'm not gonna like. If anything, like I look for the failures. The failures is where you're going to have the most data rich information.
Yes.
That's where you're going to learn the most because you're going to understand what didn't work. It's a lot
Hmm.
easier to see what didn't work than what did usually. But
Yeah.
that's where you're going to get the most information.
Hmm.
Patrick Bet. I was listening to something about him the other day, and he was like, for all the clients that didn't work, he's like, I'm more interested in calling all the clients that didn't work or that didn't happen or that didn't go through
Hmm.
and asking them why. Like I just,
Mm.
he's like, I get on a phone call with him, and I'm like, I don't even want to ask them, like, hey, I'm not trying to upsell you, I'm not trying to do this, I'm not trying to get you to do anything. He's like, I just want to know what I could have done better because I'm just so passionate about being the best I can be, and I
Hmm.
want to understand what I can do better. And
Wow.
I think that's the perspective you have to take of like my failures are not honestly, I don't even call them failures. I call it's just lessons. You're
Yeah.
learning lessons,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what I think I'll go with that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. My follow up question to that was, how do you stay? What's it called? How do you stay? Keep. What do you pull from? How do you keep going when you just feel like you're stuck? Like, what prevents you from being in the failure zone? How do you keep going?
Well, more so it's not how do I keep going, it's how do I keep from quitting.
Okay.
Your ego is what's going to tell you you're failing. Your ego is going to tell you it's not working. Your ego is going to tell you it's going to have all the self-doubt, the scarcity mindset, the fear, the shameness, right? Those are all emotions of the ego. So understanding your ego is understanding how not to quit. It's not understanding how to keep going, it's understanding how to
Mm.
not quit, to make sure that you are in control, not your ego. Your ego is going to tell you it's not working because this and that and blah 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 and self
Right.
doubt and all this shit, right? But
20
what
minutes.
is great, oof, but what it is understanding how to kind of shut that ego up, to process it and say, okay, my ego's worried because I'm not getting the results that I want as fast as I can, right? And
Right.
so instead of saying, "Oh man, I should quit," it's saying, "All right, well, each week we're just going to keep adjusting. I'm going to take action and then I'm keep adjusting based on the results."
Huge.
It's just alignment, action and adjustment. The alignment of your values and what you're doing,
Hmm.
the action that you take,
Yep.
and then the constant adjustment. Adjust, adjust, adjust. That's all entrepreneurship is. It's constantly adjusting, constantly
Pivot, pivot,
adapting,
pivot,
changing.
pivot, pivot. Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I'd go with that.
Fire. Holy crap, that was fire.
Yeah.
um, well, let's
For
get
you,
back
I
for
think
me.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, for you, what was the most amazing thing in the last 7 days?
There's a lot of highlights. I think I've had a lot of business wins, a lot of relationship wins, but the one I took away the most that actually left me feeling really, really good was all the
Mhm,
lessons that I learned through you, right? And I was able to receive with radical humility. That's one thing that not many people can do is just bow down and be like, hey, if someone's pouring into me and checking me, it's easy to be like, whoa, my ego's about to flare up. You don't know anything. I'm a top producer. What do you have to say to me? That's how easy it is to have your ego flare up and get very combative and start to feel resistance. I'm the farthest from that. I learned that through you, through Dave, is radical humility. You need to possess radical humility. And when I'm doing that, oh my gosh, my breakthroughs the next couple of days, like even this morning, I might have missed my 4 a.m., but I didn't waste any time on emotion. I hit my non-negotiables, and I was able to, execute the rest of my calendar. But having that radical humility to take these lessons, it's allowed me to amplify my message, amplify my inspiration, and start to really feel like momentum and building back into my flow. Um, and yeah, so it's just allowing this inspiration to come through me for others, for sure.
yeah, I think you kinda mixed in 2 things of there, but just to separate them, I think one thing was having your ego down to
Yeah,
be able to to receive lessons.
right.
Right? When I call you and you have all these, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs telling you, "Hey, dude, that's awesome," asking you questions like, "What are you doing?" And then you have me who's, still nobody yet, but but like I'm on you and I'm like, "Dude, you're comfortable. What are you talking about? Like you're
Yes.
sitting back, you're chilling." I'm like, You should be doing this, 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 this." I'm like, "You need to have all you like." I think what I said was, even when you don't have work, you need to always have in your mind, "Hey, I have work to do."
Yes.
That's my mindset because that's where my sense of urgency comes from too, right? From so far down the road of like,
Yeah.
yes, I always have work to do. Like friends when they ask, "Hey, are you working till? Are you until when?" Like as much as I can
Yeah.
because I'm not at where I want to be yet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm constantly in the top of my head is I have work to do. I have work to do. I have work to do, right?
100%.
So it's like I got to move forward. I constantly got to move forward. But I think it's so. I don't know if it's because of the mentorship kind of relationship we've been able to build
Hmm.
over the time, but for you to take that so openly and say, "Wow, like okay, no, you're right. Like that makes sense."
Yeah,
And
100%.
I mean, I just want to ask too. What was it? Was it the delivery? Was it me calling you out? Was it because maybe because I know what you're capable of? Because what I'm calling you out is because I know what your potential is. I don't
100%.
think maybe everyone around you understands yet where your potential lies.
Right.
So they think you're hitting your potential. Like, oh man, this guy's superstar killing it right now.
Right.
But I'm like, dude, you haven't even scratched the surface. So what was it? Maybe because I understood your potential, or is it because maybe I don't know? It's just you're very open minded. Like, what do you think that is?
A few things. So you hit on the head. I think because you understand the potential that you and I both have, and realizing that people around me are comparing me to the average agent, average person. The average person is closing 2 to 3 real estate deals in an entire year. So when I'm going out there closing six within 2 months, I've already done 2 years of your work. So people are like looking at me like, wow, you're the best thing since sliced bread, top producers meeting back to back to back. But you're like, dude, you're about to do nap time and Audible in the afternoon. Like, what do you do? You're checking me. I'm like, oh shit, I should be working harder, even more so. And I'm already producing these results. So I'm always constantly striving for more information. And that's one thing that I'm so hungry for new information. I'm constantly listening to podcasts, reading books, and I'm asking you questions because I'm looking for the next best version of myself. And that's the person I'm chasing after, because the person I am today is far from who I was a year ago. But realizing the acceleration and growth that I've had, oh my gosh, I can only imagine these next 5 years, these next 10 years, and you keep me on track and in check. So I appreciate you, Andrew. Yeah,
That's what these are for, bro. And I just want to touch too. I know we're going a little over time, but um, I think just even that comparison there, I want to make it clear for the audience. Like, he's just making that comparison to other real estate agents or kind of what the average real estate agent would do.
totally average. Yeah,
And well, just the kind of normal, kind of what the numbers usually are.
yeah,
But that's why it was kind of inflating your ego. And I was like, who are you comparing yourself to? You know,
right.
if Ryan Serhant saw the things you were doing today, he'd probably laugh and say, "Bro, you're not crap. Like, you're not
Yes, I
like
love
what the hell are
that.
you
I
doing?"
love that. That makes me
Right?
feel good about myself.
And
Yes,
it's not about comparing yourself to anyone. So that's one thing I want to make sure everyone understands too.
yes,
Comparison is the thief of joy. Okay. There is no competition, right? That's why there was one thing that I told Jacob. I'm like, you're never, I'm never above you. I'm never below you. I'm always beside you because
yes.
there's no competition in between us. Your competition, everyone who's listening, your own competition is yourself. That's the only competition you have to be better today than you were yesterday.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
You are your only competition. So I just want to touch that in there.
Huge. Thank you. No, seriously. And it's what happens is I start to move faster, dude. I'm telling you, after each of these calls, I'm like fired up. And I want everyone to feel what I feel. So you have to literally find your accountability partner, find someone you can pull from, and pull that energy back to you so you can go and pass it to other people. But for you, what was amazing?
Literally that, what you just said. Um, the fact that I can do that, the fact that, I mean, because just this week, bro, I don't know. One of my monthly intentions this month was to create a lot of meaningful relationships
Hmm.
and, to really, pour into people more and more and more. And this past month, these past couple weeks, even, I've been pouring into people like crazy. But, the kind of reactions I get of like, bro, like, this has been in the most efficient week I've had all year after just talking to you. And I'm like, damn, and like that the way you describe that passion, that fire, like that's what I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I want to do that for someone today because I'm so grateful that I was able to get that through Dave. Before that, I've never felt like this in my life before,
Right.
right? It was just I want to find out how to get rich, or I don't know, maybe I should go to college, or I don't know, like I'll
Yeah.
just work this job. Like
Yeah.
I never was someone who was fired up and super ambitious. Like even I used to play sports when I was younger, like soccer. And my mom would always be like, "Don't you want to be the best?" And I'm like, "Not really." Like, so it was like I never had this kind of fire until David like taught me that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I set off on this mission. That's why I started this podcast, right? That's the type of emotion, that's the type of feeling, that's the type of inspiration I want to be able to deliver to people. And not only to people, but through them. So they can deliver their inspiration through them for others around them.
Huge.
Right. And now at that point, you're changing an entire collective consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Of people, of like, you don't know how far your inspiration can travel, especially with the tool of social media, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you never know how many people you can actually touch or how many people you can actually impact or change or give that sense of like feeling that sense of burning passion that to be able to put that into someone.
Right.
Like fuck, I'm just so grateful I can even do that. I'm so grateful that I even have experienced it myself.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that we have all the tools and technology to be able to do this,
Yeah.
right? Like that was amazing for me. Just pouring into people and seeing that, ultimately like it works. Like I'm actually doing something here for people.
That's freaking fire. So, I mean, I can't really even add any more questions behind it because that's the way to end it right there. So, guys, let's just finish off with our 10-second blip because we are way over time, like 10 minutes. So let's just
Yeah.
finish off with 10-second blip. Um, I'll go since Andrew just finished off his amazing. So, my 10-second blip off the top of my head. I love these because I have no idea where I'm going to go with it. 10-second blip.
Same.
Um, you are one decision away from changing your life. And by connecting to the source and living in a disciplined, consistent flow, you'll achieve your dreams.
Beautifully. Nice, clean, content.
Hmm.
Cool. Yeah, no, 100% agree. If I had to choose a 10-second blip, it would just do everything with the right intents. Really, truly be a genuine person to go out there and do good for people, and everything else will fall into place.
Fire. Well, and that's it, guys. Thank you for another episode. Andrew, let's finish it off.
Let's do it. And thank you. I appreciate you all for coming to this episode of Road to 100 Million. As always, reach out with any questions at all. All our information is in the show notes. And please, please, please share this and do good deeds. Like literally, like I just want to help more people. And so the more people you help me help, it helps all of us. So with
Awesome.
that said, I'd like to thank you all for coming to this episode of Road to 100 Million. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.